What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Fantasy Underground. I'm your host, D. Holkey, and we are here today looking at Paris Eternal's DPS line. They got three guys, Onigod, Naga, and Tsuna, with whom I went into this video thinking I had a strong opinion on these, and my opinion changed a little bit. I think my memory last year is a little bit hazy on Onigod. And Tsuna, it's nice seeing him on a new team with a new lineup around him, because last year he was atrocious. I feel bad saying it, but he was part of the mess that was Vancouver. So, got some clips on Onigod, Naga. I'll talk a little bit about Tsuna, and then at the end, I have a couple useful fantasy resources. One from Pete, who improved my schedule tool that I gave you. And then also a quick link to an article I wrote. So, wasted enough time already. Let's go. Clip one. And person one, we're going to Onigod. This guy really, was in a bad situation with the Dallas Fuel last year. If you aren't familiar with it, I don't want to tell you about it. I didn't pull any clips from his first couple of weeks with the team because, it was a rough situation. But if we go back to a really nice 3-2 matchup that the Outlaws and Fuel had, we get a really nice play here where the second that Repel uses his Coalescence, Onigod tags him with a headshot, gets the immediate kill. Outlaws already looking like they're in bad shape, and Onigod keeps the pressure going. And he gets a nice second kill here on Jexe, who we can see bouncing all around, trying to stall out what is already a losing fight for the Outlaws. It's over, but at low health, Onigod finishes him off. So two really nice kills that, win a fight at a key moment for the Fuel in a series where they were down 2-0 and end up reverse sweeping. So nice hit scan play on the Ashe from Onigod there. We'll see one more here where he very much played second fiddle to Doha. Doha's an amazing player. Really good Genji. It's almost a shame that we're less likely to see it this year with he and Sparkle on the same roster, but I think we'll see his Genji at some point this upcoming year. Onigod lands the first kill of the fight against Choi Hyobin, which happens off screen with Dynamite. Probably nothing too exciting. Then we have a high ground window, and Rascal is nicely countered by Note's Flux. And this is where things get really, really scrappy. And Onigod pulls off a few nice shots here. He's got Violet pushed back. He gets some good damage in. And then you hear a call out, or he sees Striker and immediately tags him. Obviously, Striker's not best known for his Ashe and hit scan, but nice play from Onigod there to snipe him. Last up, we have this blur over here, which is Onigod, and this other blur, which is IM37. Kind of fun one here. It's rare we get the overhead cam. And Onigod rolls in, flashes, gets the headshot. Once again, not the most exciting play ever, but he is enforcing on the McCree. Nice headshot there on Punk as well. And, we see multiple clips of him playing different hit scan heroes. He did flex over to Tracer a fair amount in Owl last year, and he looked fine on it. He didn't look bad, but Owl level, he is well below average on that hero. I had memories of him being better, but I looked back at my notes from the year. I watched a few more matches, and he was regularly getting outplayed, both by the Tracer and Ashe against Edison. Go figure, Edison's really good. He had some plays where he was getting schooled by Logix a little bit too, with Logix on the Hanzo. So overall, I left with a much less favorable impression of Onigod than I thought I would have. And even carrying into this SteelSeries, which I don't take all that seriously, whereas Valentine is out there wrecking, Onigod, he's doing fine, but nothing too exciting. Next on the docket is Naga. You'll see this one comes from Obey Alliance versus British Hurricane. I get a combination of the October and then also the November matchups where these two teams played each other over and over again. And essentially, what is now London Spitfire, and you'll see what forms much of the backbone of the Paris Eternal, this is going to be a fun rivalry. Naga's a good part of that. We watched this one in slow-mo because he is pretty oppressive on the Pharah. He has a fairly uninteresting barrage where he gets Calyx. Maybe he's grateful for the hack, but he turns around very quickly and lands a couple of rockets on Danid Sombra. And Naga regularly forces the Pharah and does a really good job of it. So if we're talking statistics-wise and fantasy-wise, I really like him because I think, not to compare him to Jinmu, but I think he may force the Pharah frequently because he's very good on the hero. This is a small snippet of that, but most of the time I saw Naga popping off and loving it, it was on the Pharah. In another Hurricane versus Obey Alliance, here we see him on the Echo. I think he actually plays both the Pharah and the Echo quite well. And, he gets a nice laser beam there. He pressures down Ripa with the back copy. Not the most amazing play once again, but resourceful, creative, and all in all, I do very much like his Echo play. When I look at this roster, I think there's, he's got the projectile slot. Like, he is the projectile guy, and we'll see here in a second that he's fairly dangerous on the Mei as well. So back to the SteelSeries Invitational to skip around a little bit. Here we have him landing a pretty nasty icicle on Valentine's Echo. Unfortunately, right after that, he, after getting hacked, he kind of throws the Blizzard in there. And it's not terrible, but, it forces the Uprising to split out. He doesn't actually get anyone, though. And then the fight, because they don't get either of those picks, the fight extends, and the Paris Eternal are not able to win it, whereas you thought they would have after his Icicle Snipe and after using Blizzard. So it gets a little bit dicey. From what I've seen of his Mei play, I think he's very competent, but he is definitely not some elite level of Mei player. Even his Icicle Sniping, I'd like to point out this example. His Icicles are not otherworldly, just, mediocre Mei all around. Last clip of him is on the Tracer. He makes use of his Pulse Bomb and gets Con, and it's a just fine Pulse Bomb, making good use of working around Hadi on the main tank. I pull it up because, I really tried finding more good clips of him on Tracer, and he does regularly put out pretty solid performances at the Contenders level on the hero, but nothing crazy good. In this age where we keep seeing a lot of projectile players bust out the Tracer, I think Naga is more flexible than your general projectile player like Neist, who I have reviewed in the past. I like him a lot as a player. I think he's actually going to be the highest performing DPS on this team. Very flexible and very good on those airborne projectile heroes. A brief bit on Tsuna. So in 2020 for the Titans, before he was largely benched for Shockwave in the early disastrous part of the Titans before we ever saw them improve, his Sombra, man, it was rough. Whether it was team coordination or whether it was his Sombra, I really have to say it was both. Anytime he busted out the hit scan with Ashe or Soldier 76, even Hanzo in there, it did not look great. I was expecting to see him in the SteelSeries Invitational look awful, and when it came to hit scan, I don't like him. I still don't like him, even for an exhibition, semi-exhibition series, did not look great. Where he did pound a little bit was on the Tracer. Because he was on the Titans with Dalton, I think there was some kind of agreement there that Dalton had the Tracer. He was kind of the alpha. I do think there's a chance that Tsuna plays Tracer. But at the same time, it's a little bit confusing because Naga has a okay Tracer and Onigod has an okay Tracer. So I have to believe they brought him onto the roster thinking that he could play the Tracer. Although I see the Sombra on here and that's a possibility, Naga, in all of his flexibility, also plays that hero fairly well. And if there's a Tracer Sombra meta, which currently is possible, I do think Naga could be playing the Sombra there, whereas Tsuna plays the Tracer. So ultimately, he was one of my least favorite players that I watched in all of 2020. He gets his redemption arc, he gets his second chance. I still would rank him last among Naga and excuse me. Don't really feel like fixing that, but I think Naga is my highest rated. Onigod's second highest rated. Tsuna could be the surprise. I'll believe it when I see it in Owl because the first go around was not pretty. That's it for clips. If that's what you're here for, shut her down. If you want a couple more fantasy resources, I have put a link to this file in the description. I really like it. I know that I previously gave you a schedule, and listener Pete took that and made it better than what I could do. So as you're going through and drafting, you know the schedule gets very messy, very confusing. So what you can do is as you're drafting players, you can drop down what team they're on, and you'll see that the file will update. And the bye week's there because you'll need to construct a roster that has a decent bye week setup. This will help you do that. So thanks to Pete, I'm already using this for drafts that I'm in the middle of right now. Much better than what I was offering before. So thank you, sir. Last but not least, I wrote a Fantasy Overwatch 2021 kickoff for Draftbuff. And in this article, there are some pictures, there are some graphs, some schedule, all great stuff, at least in my opinion. I'd recommend and would appreciate you giving it a quick read. It's about how you should navigate the draft, and it's not too long or boring. I've got some sections in bold where I try to give some quick tips. So if you don't really feel like reading a 5-minute article, you can spend 30 seconds on it, still get something out of it. So you'll see news.draftbuff.com/fantasy Overwatch 2021 kickoff. Hope you enjoy. I hope to be writing a handful more articles, at least around the start of the season, to help you out. That's all I got for you today, though. Hope you enjoy the short clips. I'm looking to get a couple more episodes in before the season starts. Maybe. But I'm less likely to look at these clips. I'm just ready for it to start. I'm going to starve myself on Overwatch, but I'm hoping to get a couple guests on to talk some Overwatch. People a little bit smarter than me. Not so fantasy focused, but I'm going to ask them fantasy related questions. Hopefully. No promises. Hope you have a good week. I will talk to you later.